Tonight, I almost didn't come home, not because of an accident, because for the first time in 55 years, I seriously asked myself if ending my life would hurt less than telling the truth. I have a wife who loves me, children who respect me, grandchildren who call me their hero, a life most men would envy. And yet, every mile I drive tonight feels like punishment for a life I never chose. So, tell me, when a man destroys his family simply by being honest, who is really to blame? The truth is, nothing is actually wrong with my life. My marriage works. My children are good people. My career succeeded beyond anything I imagined. That's what makes this so unbearable. Because my misery has no visible cause. It follows me quietly. At the gym, at restaurants, at business meetings. A glance that lasts half a second too long. I wear my shade so that no other men can see me looking at their bulge. A voice, a laugh, the shape of another man's hands, and suddenly I remember something. I have spent decades trying to forget. I want men. I always have. Not loudly, not recklessly, not in a way anyone could see, but constantly, like background noise that never turns off. I trained myself not to act on it. I buried it under responsibility, under morality, under fear. I convinced myself desire was just temptation, just weakness, just something disciplined men overcome. So I became disciplined, I married, I built a family. I became respectable, reliable, safe, but desire does not negotiate. It waits. Sometimes late at night, when everyone is asleep, my real life appears on a screen. Not just bodies, not just sex, but something far more dangerous. Freedom, connection, a version of myself touching another man without shame. And then morning comes, and I go back to being husband, father, grandfather, provider, actor. Do you know what torture really is? It's not wanting something forbidden. It's knowing that acting on it could destroy everyone you love. So, I live suspended between two impossibilities. If I stay faithful to my life, I betray myself. If I become faithful to myself, I betray my life. And every day, the distance between those two men grows wider. Tell me, how long can a person exist without ever being fully alive? 40 years, and I still know exactly where I'm supposed to go. Funny thing is, I don't know if I ever knew where I actually wanted to go. Tonight feels different. Tonight. My life is playing itself on the windshield of my car, like a movie projected in 4K. Every decision, every smile, every lie I told so well even I believed it. I have everything a man is supposed to want: a successful career, respect, money, adult children who call me dad with pride, grandchildren who run toward me, a beautiful home, a wife who stood beside me for more than 30 years. By every measurable standard, I won. So why does winning feel like punishment? I followed the rules: study hard, work harder, find a good woman, get married, have children, provide, protect, endure. That was the script, and I performed it perfectly. Promotion after promotion, church on Sundays, family vacations, photographs on the wall proving I was a good man. No scandals, no chaos, just stability, respectability, normality. But there was always something else. Something buried so deep I convinced myself it didn't exist, because acknowledging it would have destroyed everything before it even began. I knew I was different, not loudly, not rebelliously, just quietly, dangerously, different. So I buried it, covered it with responsibility, with religion, with fear, and later, with success. People think men like me lied, but the truth is more uncomfortable. I wasn't lying. I was surviving. I grew up when being different meant danger, when AIDS was a death sentence, when jokes about men like me filled every room, when masculinity had only one acceptable shape. Marriage wasn't betrayal. It was protection. It was camouflage. It was safety. And my wife, she didn't trap me. She loved me. She said yes to the man standing in front of her. The man even I believed I was. So tell me, who exactly was guilty back then? The older I got, the louder silence became. Desire doesn't die. It waits. Patiently, late nights became dangerous. A second look at another man. A lingering glance I pretended didn't happen. Then curiosity. Then screens. Porn became confession without consequence. A private courtroom where my real self appeared every night and disappeared before morning. Was it sex? Maybe. But not only. It was recognition, touch, belonging, the terrifying realization that somewhere a version of me existed that had never been allowed to live. And every morning, I returned to my life. Perfect. Stable. Unbearably heavy. Here is the part nobody talks about. There are only two options. Stay silent, and one man slowly disappears, or speak, and everyone else suffers. If I come out, my wife loses her marriage, my children lose certainty, my grandchildren inherit confusion, my parents feel shame, my church closes its doors, my friends choose sides, 30 years, collapse into one conversation. Everything I built can disappear in a sentence, and suddenly, a third option whispers, quietly, dangerously calm. If I disappear, if I just die now, no one has to choose. No divorce, no explanations, no disappointment. Pain solved, problem erased. I grip the steering wheel tighter, because for the first time in my life, that thought feels logical. So tell me, who is responsible for this misery? Me? I chose marriage. I chose silence. I followed the script willingly. My wife? She loved honestly. She trusted completely. She built a life beside me without knowing the war inside my head. My children? They simply existed inside the world I created. My parents? They taught what they themselves were taught. Religion, society, fear, history. The rules were written long before I was born, and I followed them, because survival demanded obedience. So, who do I blame? The young man who was afraid, the father who provided, the husband who tried, the society that offered only one acceptable life. There is no villain, only consequences. Maybe responsibility doesn't belong to one person. Maybe suffering travels through generations until someone finally stops running. I look at my reflection in the windshield. Gray hair, tired eyes, a successful stranger. And suddenly, I understand something terrifying. I don't actually want to die. I just don't want to keep living as someone else. The tragedy is not that people will hurt. The tragedy is that I waited 55 years to ask permission to exist. Coming out will not save everything. Some relationships may end, some doors may close forever. Loss will be real, irreversible. But staying guarantees one outcome, a slow disappearance witnessed by no one. Maybe courage isn't destroying a life. Maybe courage is accepting that truth has consequences and choosing honesty anyway. The car stops. Garage door opening. light spilling inside. Home. I sit there. Engine still running. Hands shaking. Life divided between silence and truth. Maybe the question was never, who ruined my life? Maybe the real question is, do I still have enough life left to live it honestly?